Wow.
Like that?
You look good. All sweaty and stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't you come and fit in here?
Oh, fuck! My God, this is hot. This is what you wrong.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
I tell you.
Pump that.
Hell yeah, you do. She hates it. Oh, it's work.
Job.
Yeah, Lawrence. It's like how prostitutes say it.
It's a job.
Middle school kids have seen me rapping about pussy smells. For the rest of their lives, they're gonna associate pussy smells with me.
Well, you did find a way to rhyme Lucy with Pussy. Is that chocolate? You should try that.
No!
Just a little bit.
No, I was about to say you try it.
I know, but I think Tiffany would appreciate it.
So I shouldn't tell her that Lawrence is actually your middle name?
Yeah, nobody needs to know about Martin.
What's up? Well, it's a fact, like happiness, right?
Big deep.
I will always let you buy a lotion pump.
You know how long I've been waiting to hear you say that? I think I just thought that because I was supposed to. But yeah, I'll say I'm pretty happy right now. Aw, you just realized you ain't shit, huh?
Nick,
Hey, Tasha.
look at you.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Give me some of this. Why does this make everything taste better?
Because I think it got drugs in it.
Probably.
I mean, I clean up okay. I'm about to go ham on some jalapeno poppers and margaritas at Island. You get off soon, right?
Shit. I have a girlfriend.
Are you not coming home? Buying panties?
Why are you being all loud?
Why are you buying a six-pack?
No, I love him, but it's hard to carry the emotional weight and the financial weight. Like, those are heavy as fuck.
You spent 2 years unemployed, not doing shit, letting your woman take care of you. Kind of left the door open.
You couldn't wait to parade whoever the fuck in front of me and my friend.
I'm not parading anybody.
And then on some fuck shit, you block me?
I blocked you because I was tired of seeing pictures of the nigga you fucked while we were together.
Hey, happy birthday, man. I bombed you.
Jeez, nothing.
Hey, I'm sorry for running you. Hey, but can we red box a movie and just saying? What's your connection that we got y'all? I don't have one of them.
Lawrence, I had a chance to think.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck them kids! What the hell is wrong with you? You told me! It's what the fuck? You want some too?
Martin Lawrence Walker, the boyfriend of Issa on season 1 and then again on season 5 of Insecure. He later becomes her fiance and then her husband. There are so many opinions and wide-ranging opinions at that when it comes to Lawrence. Some people love him and they were so happy that he was in game with Issa, while other people feel very strongly about the fact that he became Issa's husband after all the shit they both put each other through. Now, if you followed me on social media at any point in the last 10 years, then you know I've been Team Daniel from the start. And if you ever saw my husband, then you know I have a type. So Daniel was already going to be picked as the favorite when it comes to me, just because he's got the look. What do you want me to do? However, the way the show introduces Daniel versus how it introduces Lawrence had an uphill battle from the start.
How different would my life be if I actually went after what I wanted?
Ace,
Damn!
Yeah.
Whoa, hey!
how was your birthday?
I was chill, you know, nothing special.
We'll be celebrating tonight. Which one?
Vodka tonic.
Vodka tonic, bro. I bagged you looking like Chris Cross.
Okay, that was high school.
I'm pretty sure my jeans were still saying.
Oh, well, I'm just glad your pants were up.
I mean, we meet Daniel as the ideal guy. He's the fantasy. He's even got the beautiful music in the background. She's sitting there looking cute. We later see her order a vodka tonic because she's so intrigued by Daniel. He's supportive. He remembered her birthday. He challenged her to do something fun. They had a nice steamy moment in the car, and up until the point where he ruined it, and she kind of ruined it too, throughout episode 1, Daniel was that guy. Lawrence, however, in episode 1, we meet him sleeping into the middle of the day and he's snoring in the background. He's a bum. The next time we see him, he's eating cereal in a too big shirt with a very questionable neckline. Y'all know it just really bothered me. He isn't groomed. room. The house is a mess. His socks are too big. He's also making crass comments about Issa's friend Molly. He seems so unmotivated, and we see that he is a major stress factor when it comes to Issa. We meet Issa for the first time on Insecure, considering whether or not she should break up with Lawrence. Lawrence was not the favorite in the beginning of season 1. Now, whether or not he won the audience over, that's up to the individual. But in the beginning, it was pretty much a unanimous vote that this guy is a bum and he needs to get out. So whether or not Lawrence was your favorite for Issa or Daniel was your favorite or neither of them, Lawrence is here to stay and I have opinions. So let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to Chats and Chill. This week, we're going to be discussing Lawrence Walker. Oh, excuse me, Martin Lawrence Walker. Put some respect on his name. What's up? Although I've been Team Daniel since day one, I actually like Lawrence a lot, and his relationship with Issa makes way more sense than Issa's relationship with Daniel. We first meet Lawrence. He's at the bottom of a 2-year spiral. He hasn't worked in 2 years. It's clear that he hasn't really been keeping up with his friendships. That first phone call we see him make to Chad, it feels like it's been a long time. Chad doesn't really know what's current with him, doesn't really know what's going on, and he's very dismissive of Lawrence. It's clear that Lawrence hasn't been keeping up his friendships. He hasn't been doing much outside of the home. He hasn't been taking care of his body or his health. Now, we later hear Lawrence confirm that this episode was depression. So it wasn't just him being unmotivated, he was depressed. And a lot of times, not everyone, but a lot of times people experience an inability to upkeep their hygiene when they're depressed. Later, we see Lawrence brushing his teeth and he makes a comment about the power of flossing. Despite being at home all day, every day, he wasn't cleaning up, he wasn't cooking, he wasn't helping out around the house. I noticed in season 1, almost every single time Issa came home, with the exception of the times that Lawrence was cooking, almost every single time she came home, she mentioned that there wasn't any food in the house or she should have grabbed food on the way home. So Lawrence isn't doing anything. We also see Issa vent to Molly that he is a financial strain. She is carrying the financial weight of 2 people in California in her late 20s.
No, I love him, but it's hard to carry the emotional weight and the financial weight. Like, those are heavy as fuck.
You sure it's all on him?
Make sure you eating tacos with him or me.
Issa is doing the damn near impossible. We also see that Lawrence is not only unmotivated, he's inconsiderate. The very first episode of the show, he ruins Issa's birthday. That would have been my last straw, because you had a whole year to come up with something, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You could have written her a letter. You could have at least cleaned the house. You could have taken her to dinner. We see that Molly is always happy to go above and beyond. If you didn't have it, you could have asked your friends, your parents, or Molly to help you put together some funds to do something for Issa. You could have asked Molly to help you plan a party. Knowing your situation, she probably would have been happy to help. There were so many options to celebrate your partner on their birthday, even when you're going through a lot. Yet he decided to not only ignore her birthday, but he laid on the couch, and when she walked in, he barely got out a "Hey, happy birthday."
Hey, happy birthday, babe.
Thank you. Why aren't you dressed? The show starts at 10, right?
Happy birthday from the couch in your lounge clothes. That's diabolical. I'm gonna need you to have on a suit and tie when I get home after my birthday. First of all, the fact that Issa went to work on her birthday says a lot about her mental state. Now, some people are built like that, that's great. But the fact that work has become a retreat from home, that's usually a telltale sign that home ain't so great, because home should be serenity. Home should be reprieve. Home should be relief. Home should be something you're excited to get back to. And if it's not, that's something you should work on. Now, there are some people who love to work and they love their job, so working on their birthday is fine. And there are some people who can't take off on their birthday. With those exceptions aside, most people don't want to be at work when they're in a celebratory mood. Issa went to work, a place that she doesn't even like, rather than being home and being out and about celebrating her birthday. And when she finally got home, he didn't even have enough energy to put on clothes and go to a place that they had already determined they would go to, and they likely had already purchased tickets. The least he could have offered her on her birthday was a little bit of effort. She wasn't even asking him for a haircut, and she should have been. A man who isn't even excited to see her, hasn't even blown up a damn balloon. You could have gone to the 99-cent store and got a little pack of those balloons and blown them up. You could have done so much. You could have massaged Issa. You could have made dinner. You could have run a bubble bath. You could have given her a stress-free night. Yet you wanted to stay home and watch Conjugal Visits, despite that looking like an absolutely fabulous show. You wanted to stay home and watch conjugal visits and then go to the 7-Eleven and get a Redbox movie and stay in for her birthday for the night. Not only that, you couldn't even go to the damn Redbox when she was sitting right there. You wanted to put in so little effort that you asked her to wait on you to finish your episode so that the two of you could go get a Redbox movie. Now, again, if we're at this moment with Lawrence and we realize, oh shit, I messed up the birthday. I got to scramble and figure something out. I only have enough money for a Redbox movie and I don't have a lot of energy and I look a mess. What can I do? If these are your options in this moment, Lawrence, instead of saying, hey, give me a minute after this episode, we'll go get a Redbox movie. You know what you could have done? Ordered food, ran her a bubble bath, gone and got the Redbox movie yourself. It doesn't have to be in that order. And who knows what else, wherever the night takes you. Instead, your bummy ass stayed on the couch talking about conjugal visits. The women on the show were getting more than Issa, if you know what I mean. She also mentioned that he had completely shut down. He wasn't even giving her conversation. And we saw an example of this when she finally broke up with him. And then she stayed 2 nights at Molly's, and when she came back, they didn't even have a conversation. She tried to open the door to converse about why she walked out by apologizing. And then he just started talking about Thug Yoda.
I shouldn't have ignored you today.
Thug Yoda spelled an entire sentence today.
For real? That's crazy.
He completely shut down. Now, this is where I feel like Issa was at a crossroads. Now, we get the rest of the series, so clearly we can't have our protagonist making all the right decisions or we don't have a show. But I do feel like at this moment, there should have been communication on Issa's behalf. The same shit she was saying to Molly, I can't take the emotional, mental, and financial weight of this relationship anymore. You should have said that directly to Lawrence. However he took that is how he took that. Because it's clear trying to dialogue and tiptoe and find a passive way to get this information out or find a way to kind of mutually give and take in a conversation really wasn't working because he wasn't responding to anything that she said. So being very direct works for me in situations like this. When I notice a person is evading my conversation starters and they're trying to not go there, I will just directly say, hey, is this not something you want to talk about? Because this is how it's impacting me. How do you want to go about this? Sometimes you just have to be direct. Direct doesn't mean being an asshole. It doesn't mean cutting him down or hurting his feelings or insulting him. But you can absolutely say, this is my experience right now. And I know you're going through a lot, but I need you to consider what I'm experiencing. What can we do about this? Where's the compromise? Because I am all out of energy and I don't have any more ideas. Now, what's interesting is at the beginning of the episode, Issa is looking at Daniel's Facebook profile, and that's when he messages her. So they were thinking about each other at the same time. Only for her to fail to respond because Lawrence was snoring in the background. Do with that what you will. So she goes her whole day not thinking about or responding to Daniel. She goes to work. She goes to see Molly. They have dinner. She comes home. Her boyfriend basically says, F you, AKA, we're not celebrating your birthday. And it's then that she go ahead and respond to Daniel. Now, she was clearly thinking about Daniel inappropriately at the very beginning. So her intentions were already kind of set, but she didn't take action until her boyfriend let her down. I want to make it very clear. Cheating is wrong. No matter how you slice it, no matter what led to it, cheating is wrong. It's so simple to just say, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. Let's figure out the end of this. And then when that's done, go do that. That's all you gotta do. It's messier and it's probably a lot more chaotic than how I'm describing, but it's still a whole lot better than deceiving someone in the process of doing what you were gonna do anyway. You could just do it with clarity and maturity. You could just communicate directly. There's never a reason to cheat. Now, I don't want a protagonist who makes all the right decisions because that's not a show worth watching. So do I understand Issa's actions? Sure, because it keeps the show going. But do I agree with them in real life? Hell no. She could have just broken up with Lawrence. Also, we see Issa struggles to advocate for herself and communicate. She describes herself as passive aggressive. So this is par for the course for her, lashing out as opposed to direct communication. And again, there's a lot that led up to this lack of communication between them. She mentioned that she tried to communicate with him before. And in my last video, I said that's likely something that happened for a very long time. And when she realized it was falling on deaf ears, she just figured, why would I keep trying? That makes sense. But when you are in that state, that's the time to break up. At least take a break, at least clear your head, at least decompress. You need space. If you cannot advocate for yourself, especially in your own home, That needs to change. Now, I do understand her wanting to be there for Lawrence, but sometimes the best thing we can do for a person is stop tolerating their bullshit. Now, again, several things can be true. We can have all the compassion in the world for someone who's going through a mental health episode, and this is depression. Depression is not pretty, it's very ugly, and it leads to this exact same scenario often. This isn't anything new. So I can understand having compassion, and I recommend having compassion and empathy, of course, but you are also a person with feelings. And you have to have a high quality of life as well. You owe it to yourself to nurture yourself as well. And if you are unable to do that, if you are depleted of your resources, of your will, of your determination, of your motivation, then you have to change that. And unfortunately, sometimes we are no longer able to pour into other people who need us because we aren't actually helping them. We're enabling them. Had she simply told Lawrence, this isn't going to work. This is how your actions are impacting me. And if we aren't going to change this, then we have to end this. It's a lot easier said than done, but it has to be said and it has to be done. So that isn't the route she chose. She chose to go the Daniel route with the wheels in motion. When they decided to diverge because he wasn't looking for a relationship and she knew that she really wanted to stay with Lawrence, her and Lawrence decided to start over and they kind of recommitted to one another. He got a little bit more of a zest for life. He goes back into the world. He gets a temporary job while still looking for something long term. He starts to groom himself. He starts to cook at night. He starts to clean up. We see him invest in his life again. We kind of see him coming out of this stupor slowly. He reaches out to friends. All of this because Issa left, because she said, I'm done. All I'm saying is she probably should have said, I'm done before she contacted Daniel and made sure they were really done before she contacted Daniel. But other than that, her walking out was the impetus for him to get his shit in line. And he did. Clearly no longer enabling him, or at least giving him the opportunity to sit in his actions and recognize the impact he was having on her, worked. Like getting a job, even if it was a temporary job, just kind of revitalized him. He also stopped by the bank, and I'm going to get more into this later, but he stopped by the bank and he got a little ego boost from Tasha, who kind of pumped him up. He was a very different man leaving the bank than when he got to the bank because she complimented him and kind of reminded him that all is not lost. You seem to be a great guy.
Look at you, coming up in here looking like Obama. Okay, you got a lot going for you. You a good black man. You went to college. I see you still got some savings.
Yeah, but...
But what? You out here trying to work and make something of yourself, right?
Yeah.
With no kids? Better keep your head up.
So he leaves. He's got a little ego boost. He's gotten his temporary job. He decided to cook. He cleaned up the apartment and he's waiting for Issa when she comes home. They kind of have this moment where they remember all the good times on the couch. And the couch is kind of like their home base. We keep seeing them come back to the couch, and it does play a significant role throughout their relationship throughout the show. They kind of make up and they decide to recommit and start over. And they do. They decide to buy a new couch first, out with the old, and they start over with a new couch, a new home base, and it's an investment into their home, making their home look beautiful together, deciding these things together. That's a good sign. They really did recommit and they really did start over. The problem is when Issa contacted Daniel and they had that conversation in the car, he told her he didn't want a relationship, which she said, okay, cool. They don't have contact. He's been trying to contact her. She's been ignoring him. So he shows up at her job. Now, y'all heard my feelings on this in the other video. I don't have to repeat them, but don't go to people's jobs. While he's waiting on Issa, Frida is asking him all about himself. What does he do for work, etc. And she really likes Daniel. She took to him immediately, but he is a charmer. Apologizes for the other night in the car, basically tells her where he stands now. She lets him know that, hey, I'm back with Lawrence. And he's like, oh, well, great. I guess I have great timing as always. Again, they always miss each other. And so they hug and they separate, but it's clear that energy is still lingering. Because she contacted him before she was sure about Lawrence, she set these wheels in motion. Now, later they have a career day and Molly is supposed to speak at career day, but some things come up at work and she lets Issa know she can't make it. Frida asks Issa to reach out to Daniel. At first, Issa protests, but they're out of options. So she has to see Daniel again. Daniel comes through for the kids. It seems like it was a big hit. And afterwards, as they're talking, they kind of fall back into that old groove again. That's when she starts imagining a life with him. She starts imagining a life with someone who's really going after their dreams, something that has recently been revitalized in Issa to go after something. And so he kind of feeds her that inspiration that she's been searching for. That was more so their connection. They're both very passionate about music. They always come back to music together, and they're also very passionate in general. So they actually make a lot of sense, but you need a lot more than that to sustain a relationship. which is why they didn't work out. Later, when a video makes its way to the kids in Issa's class that show her rapping the Broken Pussy song at the club, she reaches out to Daniel for help. Again, Molly is on the money. This is why she's a great attorney. She recognized the signs from the very beginning. She said, there's no one else you could contact outside of the guy you have been yearning for. Girl, play with somebody else. I know you. And as her best friend, she was right. Like, girl, you can fool everybody else. You cannot fool me. You are looking for any reason to talk to Daniel. So goes and sees Daniel. They spend some time together and they end their night at the studio. At the studio, they get into a conversation about why they didn't work out before. They start chatting about old times. He also encouraged her to get in the studio. They had a really good time rapping together and making music together. Again, they always come back to their passion for music, which then translates to passion for one another. But while this is happening, Issa gets beside herself and she sleeps with Daniel. Now, it's clear that she's not completely swept up in the moment, because when he tries to kiss her the first time, she says, you know, I'm in a relationship. But then she doubles back and kisses him, and they eventually sleep together. And afterwards, while Daniel is fast asleep, she really put it on him. He was out. As Daniel is fast asleep in the studio, she goes to the restroom and she sees a lotion/soap dispenser that looks like the one that she and Lawrence were making jokes about at the furniture store. So Issa sees this lotion dispenser, thinks about Lawrence and their recent recommitment, and the guilt is all over her face. Mama is sick. And while I feel a little bad for her, Mama, that's exactly what you deserve. He finds out that Lawrence has actually managed to get the video of her singing the Broken Pussy song removed from YouTube. This is the last straw. She breaks down. So clearly that guilt is tearing her up. Now, had this happened 2 weeks ago, nothing would have made that woman feel guilty. She would have come home to a bum on her couch or on the table eating cereal. He wouldn't have been interested in her. He wouldn't have gotten her dry cleaning. The house wouldn't be clean. There would be no food, and the video would still be up. So, girl, it's just bad timing. I'm not saying she should have cheated, but I am saying, ooh, it was bad. It couldn't have been worse timing. Ignores Daniel again. She is quick to pick him up and drop him whenever she to. Imagine on Daniel's side, that had to be very jarring. Like, imagine spending time with someone you've recently reconnected with. You think y'all are on the same page. You sleep together. You make music together. You spend the whole day together. And then you have sex and you wake up and not only are they gone, but they won't take your calls or texts. That's got to be jarring. She ghosted him. Again, Issa is not direct and she fails to communicate. She should have had a conversation with Daniel. But I almost don't feel that bad for Daniel. You knew she was in a relationship. Daniel and Tasha, despite their circumstances being different, they're in the same boat for me. I don't feel bad for either one of them. How they got done by Issa and Lawrence is just simply how they got done. Because you went into it eyes open, knowing these people were committed to someone else. Your choice to engage with them is your choice to be number two. And your choice to be number two comes with shit like that. Getting ghosted, not being respected, treated like a weekend romp. You're not respected. You're not treated well. If you are not number one, then you shouldn't be there at all. Your lack of self-respect will always cost you in the end. And at the end of the day, if they didn't choose you, why are you choosing them? New York's mother said on Flavor of Love, what's not clicking? He didn't choose you. You're gonna have egg on your face again. That woman was a Looney Tune, but she wasn't wrong. He's texting and calling her. Now, why she didn't block him? I don't know. But anyway, her and Lawrence have recommitted. When she goes home, they kind of get back into their groove. They have sex. Issa's fast asleep, and when Lawrence gets up to go to the restroom, he happens to see Issa's phone and Daniel is blowing her up. He reads some of the text previews and he recognizes like something is not right here. He doesn't exactly know what's going on, but he knows something isn't right. But he doesn't acknowledge or he doesn't mention the text preview. He doesn't ask about it. He stays focused on his interview. Nails the interview. I also want to point out this interview, he got his hair cut. I'm not saying that was the key, but I am saying you don't go in them people's office looking a mess. Issa is planning an event, a fundraiser for her job, We Got Y'all. At this event, Lawrence announces to his friends, hey, I got a job. Lawrence is looking good. He's got a great suit on. His hair is looking right. Now, last week, y'all heard me say that when Daniel showed up to Issa's job, he was sporting one of my favorite boy haircuts. But in this scene, Lawrence is actually donning my number one favorite boy haircut. They are 1 and 2. Issa, were you grading these men on their haircuts? If so, kudos to you. You got it right. But he's looking really good. He's looking sharp. Lawrence looks good. So he walks in looking all suave and debonair, the man on Issa's arm, making her look great. And Daniel shows up. Again, Daniel was at career day, so naturally he got an invitation to the fundraiser because he was a participant. Molly goes and runs interference. The way she goes about this, I'm like, girl, were you trying to blow up Issa's spot? And I kind of wonder if she was passive aggressively trying to escalate this situation rather than diffuse it, because she and Issa had exchanged words earlier when Issa implied that maybe Molly needed some therapy, which Issa wasn't wrong. But Molly got offended, and all night she was acting stank. And we later see the same little attitude when Issa has the block party. She always finds a reason to be mad on the day of Issa's big moments. She's gonna get her own video. But in this moment, the way she spoke to Daniel, on the surface, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's aggressive because she's trying to make sure he knows. But then I'm like, she's a lawyer. She recognizes the value in diplomacy. She recognizes the value in communicating without escalating. She knows how to get things done. She knows how to communicate probably better than anyone. Why would you go in so hot like that? Why wouldn't you communicate more diplomatically? Daniel just seems kind of offended because she walks up to him and was like, what are you doing here? And like, she's aggressive. I wouldn't have answered any of her questions. If you walk up to me asking me questions and being hostile, you're going to get exactly this. And I'm walking away. I don't acknowledge bullshit, and I don't communicate where I'm not respected. And so he was nice enough to answer her, but that was not the way to go about it. Later, we see Daniel with Frida. Issa decides to go talk to Daniel. Why she decided to talk to Daniel, I don't know. I would have just allowed him to see that I was keeping my distance. He knew that it was a work thing. He wasn't trying to put any pressure on her. She should have just let that be uncomfortable for a couple of hours, and then the next day or sometime after, sat down with him and had a real conversation where it wouldn't blow up. But again, if my protagonist made all the right decisions, we wouldn't have 5 seasons of an iconic show. So anyway, she goes up to talk to Daniel. She pulls him into a side room, but all the windows are open and in clear view. Couldn't have picked a worse spot because it actually turned out to be right in front of where Lawrence was standing. So he didn't hear them, but he saw them.
Daniel, you knew I had a...
Are you trying to blame me for what you did? You're not a victim, Issa.
You're being real loud right now.
I ain't even come here for all this, Issa. Why you would treat me like I'm some random ass nigga?
You were just an itch I needed to scratch.
So what's your connection that we got y'all?
I have one of you.
And he could tell from their energy that communication was very personal. You were nothing more than an itch I needed to scratch. This is her lifelong friend, by the way, a friend that has been in her corner. They share music together. He celebrated her birthday, one of the only people who celebrated her birthday, by the way, and they've had sex for years. They've had a long-term connection for a very long time, and she reduced all of that down to you are nothing more than an itch I needed to scratch. Later, when they finally just cut the cord on their friendship, when he tells her he's always saving her from some shit and he pretty much disrespects her, I'm like, y'all have a tendency of saying horrible things to each other when you're mad. This is just par for the course for the two of you. You're very, very hot, but y'all can both be very, very cold. He also used her eye for target practice. These two are toxic. And as y'all know, I do leave a little room for a little tinge of toxic. And I think that might be why I like Daniel, because he just gives me a little energy. I like that. Anyway, not for me though, but I just like to see it on my screen. No, I need a good, calm, sweet man who treats me with respect all the time. But I do like to watch it on TV. Now, Daniel has had enough. He's been disrespected one time too many. He finished fucking up his quesadilla and then he left. Lawrence, having seen all of this from the first floor, was like, oh, no, you're not getting away from me. Who the hell are you? So he goes over to Daniel while Daniel is waiting on his car. He says, so what's your connection? And we got y'all. And Daniel says, I don't have one anymore. So much subtext, so much drama, so much toxicity. I love all of it. First of all, when both of them were standing there next to each other, I was like, Issa, girl, you are having a real good year. All right now. Also, again, if I can read everybody else, I'm going to read myself. I do have moments where I'm like, Sharion, that is bird behavior. But when Lawrence asked Daniel, what's your connection? We got y'all. That little flare of irritation and anger, that hostility, he has never been more attractive than he is in that moment. I said, oh my God, you are so hot when you're mad. Oh my God, I'm toxic. Am I the drama? Because I was like, oh, Lawrence, this is the most energy I've seen from him all season when he was like, what's your connection? We got y'all. And the way he was looking, I was like, Issa, I wouldn't have been failing to communicate. I would have been pissing him off every day. Get mad, get angry, do that face I like. Instead of blowing up and ruining the night, he just went home to cool off. But he's been thinking about this for days and slowly putting the pieces together. So when Issa walks her ass up in the house, all friendly, got me some champagne, looking cute in my dress, blah, blah, blah. All he asks her is,
Who's Daniel?
Now, Issa, again, if my protagonist made all the right choices, we wouldn't have a show. But girl, sometimes telling the truth with shades of gray, it might be best. Now, I'm glad she was honest with him, because if you're not gonna do nothing else, just be honest. But you should have never cheated to begin with. But now that we're here, she probably should have just been like, yeah, in college we did a long time ago. She didn't exactly say it didn't happen 3 or 4 nights ago, but you know, do we have to count every time? He didn't ask when. So you anyway, let me not encourage y'all to lie. Don't lie. Be honest, break up when things aren't working out, and don't cheat. But Issa, girl, maybe you should have just implied that a lot further back in the past, or just talked about when y'all did sleep together in the past, and maybe he didn't need to know about this recent time because you weren't going to do it again. So anyway, Lawrence freaks out. He says the F word with his whole bottom jaw. Every time he says, did you fuck him? Like, he puts his whole body into the F word.
Did you fuck him?
What?
You fucked that nigga?
I'm so sorry.
What the fuck? Wait, you fucked him! Because I was tired of seeing pictures of the nigga you fucked while we were together.
I'm like, my goodness. It's kind of like, you know, people that don't cuss that much. And so when they do, it kind of sounds disconjointed. Kind of like me. I don't really cuss often, but when I do, it'll slip its way in and out. But there's some people, like, when they get mad, they want to use a cuss word, and it just sounds like, you mad. Oh, you really tried. That's the energy, because every time he says, did you F him? Or the guy you F'd, he just puts his whole bottom jaw in it. It cracks me up. So Lawrence leaves. They break up. He goes to Chad's. Chad helps him find a place. He moves out on his own. He and Issa talk. They sleep together, but ultimately he doesn't want to get back with her. He messes around with Tasha for a while. He ends it with Tasha, gets with Aparna. He stays with Aparna for a little while. They break up because Aparna thinks he's still in love with Issa. He goes on a world tour of just getting it in with everybody. And then he and Issa run into each other at Coachella, or after Coachella, at a gas station. He's with Chad, hanging out with his friends, and he sees Issa there, and they reconnect as friends. They reconnect as just acquaintances. He sees her again much later at the baby shower for Tiffany and Derek, because he and Derek are best friends. So they hang out at the baby shower. Then later, Issa mentions, I'm trying to get this block party off the ground. I would love it if you have any business connections that might be able to help me. I would appreciate it. He gives her a tip on a workshop happening at his job, Meridian. Issa goes. It helps her get her block party off the ground. At the baby shower, he met a woman named Condola. She's a friend and a coworker of Tiffany. He starts dating Condola. They end up getting pregnant, but not before they break up. So they end up breaking up. And then after that, he goes, he woos Issa, gets her back. And after they're set to get back together, he gets a job in San Francisco and finds out Condola is pregnant.
I'm pregnant.
Are you sure it's mine?
Yes.
So they try to work it out at first, but after Issa has some time to decompress and really think about it, she comes back from a trip to tell him, hey, I actually don't want to stay together during this time. That was the right call. Take notes, Melanie. Anyway, so they break up. He understands. They both go about their lives. Everything is fine. He and Condola have some very difficult times right at the beginning with their son. They are just not compatible, and they're trying to co-parent. He is being extremely selfish and inconsiderate. We see those habits coming back again, but in a different way. Derek encourages Lawrence to be more flexible, to be more understanding. And then after a scare on a flight, Lawrence recognizes that he is not prioritizing his son enough, and he decides to move back to LA. Once he moves back to LA, he and Condola are able to adequately compromise and work together and be flexible, and they co-parent very well, but they don't get back together. Later, Tiffany and Derek are moving to Denver, and they have a going away party. At this party, Lawrence sees Issa with her new boyfriend, Nathan. Well, not new, but new to Lawrence because he didn't know him. And so the whole night, he is being very passive aggressive to Nathan. And although Nathan wasn't my top choice, he didn't deserve to be treated like that. And so Lawrence is being an asshole and making it tense and uncomfortable for everyone.
I'm from Houston.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Nah, once people have Texas barbecue, they know it's good.
Barbecue must not be good enough to keep him there.
Oh, this is so tense.
And the moment he thinks Nathan has left, because Nathan went out front to talk to a friend and decompress, the moment he thinks Nate has left, he makes a move on Issa.
I would hate to leave here tonight knowing that I didn't say something that I should have. Like, I didn't fight hard enough for you.
I don't know if fighting would have even mattered.
Maybe, I don't know. I am not happy when I'm not with you. I love you, Issa.
Oh, I was just taking out trash.
Nah, we were having a conversation.
No, we weren't.
Yes, we were.
As she is listening to Lawrence and trying to tell him like, hey, this isn't the place, Nathan walks up. They get into a scuffle. It's so messy. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite episodes of the show, especially since Molly and her boyfriend are having a whole trip. They took drugs. And then they end up like mowing down all the food in the catering closet. Then they come out to a fight. They are actually having the best night ever.
My space
Oh,
is
stop. You got to stop it.
All right, so
Let's go.
I'm chill.
Screw everybody else. I want to be in that duo. So anyway, they walk out, break up the fight. Nathan is upset, but he knows like, hey, this is toxic. I don't want any parts in this. So he breaks up with Issa. Issa is single for a while. She and Lawrence kind of reconnect as friends here and there, but it's never right. And then eventually, I think maybe a year has now passed. Eventually, they reconnect again. He drops by her office to see her new company, The Block. And it's there that they decide to get back together.
You went from we got y'all to
Please
I
don't.
got mine. So do you believe it'll work out?
I'm okay with finding out.
The end of the show, we see that she is wearing a ring. So they're either married already or they're engaged. I think they're engaged because I think she mentions not looking forward to the wedding planning process. So they're engaged. Ja, his son Elijah, is living with them, or at least staying with them for a little bit because he's co-parenting with Condola. Clearly, they have a good relationship. She gets along great with Ja. Lawrence seems to be very happy. They're going to celebrate Issa's birthday with Ja. So clearly, they have a groove now. They're in like a little groove. They're a blended family. And they end the show on a high note, back together. Now, the reason I can rock with Issa and her decision to take Lawrence back with a child, but I didn't like Melanie and her decision to stay with Derwin knowing a child was on the way, is all about the way they handled it, the timing, and each woman's intention. Melanie is the type of person who will become a step parent who's spiteful, resentful, creates a tense environment so that the parent brings the child around less and competes. That is very toxic. And if you are a parent and you allow your partner to make your child feel that way, you are wrong as the day is long. And if you are a person who's grown as hell and you are treating a child that way or creating a toxic environment for a child, you are wrong as the day is long. And when the baby mama come and snatch your ass up, you deserve it. But snatch up that man too because he's allowing it. Versus Issa, who seems to be way more accepting of the situation. Issa's the type of person who will eventually grow into a step parent that makes the child happy they're there. They might not be happy that their parents are no longer together, but they're grateful that one of their parents brought someone into their world who only enhances it. That's the type of step parent Issa is coming off as. And the reason I know that is because when she found out about Elijah, she took the time she needed to truly consider whether or not that was a compromise she was willing to make. And when it wasn't, she was direct, she was honest, and she left. She didn't hang around. She didn't compete. She didn't get spiteful. She didn't make it all about herself. She definitely didn't do a woe is me. She left. She gave them the space they needed while she continued her journey on her own. It wasn't all about the man for her. It was about what type of life is this going to be, and is that the life I want? She pursued her dreams. She poured back into herself. She observed from a distance, and when she had fully accepted his new reality and knew it was something she was willing to integrate into, she did. And look at the type of energy they have around the child and with one another. They're happy, they're settled, they're peaceful because she integrated cautiously and from a fulfilled place, and she didn't integrate trying to compete and trying to be spiteful or trying to be nasty or trying to make it all about her. Because she came in good faith, look at the environment she helped to create. I will say this, it does frustrate me sometimes that it just seems like the message for Black women when it comes to finding your happily ever after or your happy ending, you always have to accept it with a caveat. I don't necessarily care for that. Like Melanie ended up with Derwin, but she had to have a stepchild and Janae come along with the package. Issa got Lawrence back, but again, it comes with a baby. There's always this compromise. Now, again, if you wanted to be a step parent, while that is beautiful and I think that's great, I also can recognize the message there. it's not always going to be your ideal, but just accept them anyway. I would love to see a protagonist, a Black female protagonist, get her happily ever after without having to accept the caveat in a show. I would love that. I would love for it to not have to be such a major compromise or something she tolerates. Or if that's the case, I would love it if the Black female protagonist is the one that has the caveat and the man has to accept or tolerate that. I would love to see that in reverse, because in most cases, a man is not going to tolerate what a woman will. I will say this, Lawrence got cheated on and he went back to her. We rarely see that. They both put each other through the ringer. Issa cheated on him. He brought back a baby. So they both had things to work through. So when they came back together, I can actually see that as a more fair and balanced reunion versus Melanie and Derwin, because Derwin cheated on her and he came back with the baby. Even though Melanie was a hot mess, she never really did anything that impacted Derwin long term. She always did her little things here and there, but it was never as bad as the shit he put her through. She was just taking. Anyway, that's why I don't really care for their love story. But Issa and Lawrence, I actually see that as a little bit more fair and balanced. While I do understand how she ended up cheating, she still cheated. Like, that's a big deal. And honestly, I'm not taking back someone who cheated on me, no matter what the circumstances were, because before you cheated, you could have just simply talked to me or you could have dumped me. Cheating is still a choice I don't rock with. But because they both put each other through something, I can actually see their reunion as a little bit more fair and a little bit more balanced. Although we're fully aware that Issa was wrong for cheating on Lawrence, Lawrence wasn't so innocent himself. There's a very small but very telling scene at the beginning of the season. When he goes to the bank, he is in line and there's a woman behind him. Now, there are two bank tellers who are working with people. One bank teller frees herself up. She finishes up with a customer and she says, next. Lawrence is next in line. Lawrence tells the person behind him that she can go in front of him because he actually wants to go to Tasha's line. When he sees Tasha, he greets her by name. So because he knows this bank teller by name, because they have very familiar banter, and because he chose to go to her line so much so that he put someone in front of him, it's clear that they have some kind of little back and forth, some kind of friendship or camaraderie or whatever. He was intentionally trying to talk to Tasha. He was intentionally trying to see Tasha. Now, although when push came to shove and Tasha made a move on him, he said no, which is what he should have done. His actions up until that point give me pause, because I never had any inkling that Issa knew about Tasha. So if you've been carrying on with someone so much so that y'all are chatting every time you see her and you know her by name, and eventually y'all have lunch together and you never bring her up to your partner, you're doing dirt. It may seem strict, but I do run a strict program. If you are having lunch with another woman, why wouldn't you bring that up to your partner? People do work lunches all the time. And if you see somebody you know and it's just the two of you in this environment, why wouldn't you sit together and chat? But if you don't tell your partner, I have to wonder what was the intent of that chat. Also, Tasha doesn't get any sympathy from me. When things didn't work out with her and Lawrence, she got what she deserved. Lawrence was still wrong by how he treated her. He treated her like an afterthought, but the same way I said Daniel got what he asked for, so did Tasha, because Tasha acted a little surprised when he said, shit, I have a girlfriend. She acted a little surprised, but she already knew that.
Kale, some chicken breast, and sweet potatoes.
My girlfriend loves kale. My girlfriend loves kale. My girlfriend loves kale.
You get off soon, right?
Shit. I have a girlfriend, Tasha.
Right.
Because when they were having lunch, she's talking about kale, and Lawrence goes, oh, my girlfriend loves kale. He said it outright, and she responded to it. But then she still asks him on a date, knowing he has a girlfriend. She knew that. He was wrong for leading her on, and I do feel like he was leading her on. But at the end of the day, you knew he was committed to someone. You knew he had a partner. When I first saw him intentionally go into Tasha's line, I said, oh, he's been flirting with the bank teller. Anyway, the only thing Issa did was take it a step too far. They were both wrong for carrying on with other people, but his was a little bit more subtle because it wasn't right in your face. It was the small things, intentionally going to her line, sitting with her at lunch. And then eventually when she asks him on a date, because he's essentially leading her on, then he tells her he has a girlfriend, which is right. But as soon as he realizes he's not going to stay with Issa, he goes right to Tasha. He essentially had her waiting in the wings. That's what it looks like to me. When he got what he wanted from her, he was done with her. The fact that she tried to make that into a relationship knowing he had just left a 5-year relationship is also crazy. I'm like, Tasha, have some self-respect. Like, do you really think this is a person who could be a good partner to you? I mean, you can't wait a bit. Now, I can understand if they were just like, you know what, we're going to have some fun and see where it goes down the line. But it felt like to me, she was trying to force it, like bringing him around her family, and they hadn't even committed to one another. But at the end of the day, he was also posted up at her apartment portraying a relationship when he knew that's not what it was. He only took her out because Chad reminded him to. He didn't even have any intention on taking her out. Chad even mentioned that Lawrence would go to Tasha's house, stay all weekend having sex with her. They wouldn't go out. They wouldn't do anything fun. He didn't buy her anything. He didn't necessarily do anything kind or generous for her. And then he would go back to Chad's Monday through Friday and didn't take her out. Why she even wanted a relationship with a person who was behaving that way is crazy to me. Because first of all, you letting this man that you barely know spend the night with you, spend the whole weekend with you? Okay, girl. She was desperate and he treated her like a fan. That's what it feels like. And that's exactly why you don't act like that. Well, he's wrong, but so is she. She got exactly what she deserved. Now, as far as Aparna, I didn't like Aparna because she was just so thirsty. Like, first of all, when they first went out on a date, the first thing she did was went back to the office and started talking about it. Why are you telling these people your personal business? But also, when Lawrence got there, everybody knew Aparna had slept with someone else at their office. Why would you even consider going out with her? Why would she even be a candidate? That would have been my first, like, oh, no, I don't want someone. If I'm a private person and I don't want a whole bunch of people in my business, I'm not going to date the person who's at work telling everybody their business and doing their dirt at work. You never mess around with a person you work with. I'm pretty sure there are people out there who have worked with someone and they fell in love and they had a wonderful life and it turned out great. But as a rule, I don't make friends at work and I don't sleep with people at work. Just know. Too many people in the world for me to be doing all this where I get my money. Same thing for my apartment building. When I lived by myself and I was a single woman, I would not date anybody or talk to anybody who lived in the same building as me. Absolutely not. So Aparna was weird to me. First of all, she went back to work and blabbed to everyone that they had been on a date. When he asserted that he really didn't like his business out there like that, she took it in stride, but it did seem like it bothered her. Only for then, when they're supposed to go out again, and he tells her, hey, I actually have a birthday thing I have to go to. She invites herself.
I know we said we were gonna grab drinks at 7, but we can't work.
What's up?
I forgot I gotta stop by this thing.
Maybe we could try another night, or I can go with you if that's easier.
Sure.
What? First of all, I wouldn't want to go somewhere I wasn't invited to. Not even just by Lawrence, but by the other person. They don't know you exist yet. So I would have been like, let's just meet up afterwards. Why not? Or do this another night. She invited herself. That just gave me the ickiest of all icks. And then at the dinner, when Lawrence stepped out to talk to Issa, why are you following behind them? Me personally, I would have gone home. I would have been like, oh, hell no, this is too much drama for me. And I would have gone home, especially if I walked out and saw them arguing. That's too much energy being exchanged. I don't even know what this is, but I'm not going to get in the middle of a cyclone. I would have taken my ass home. Instead, she want to walk out talking about, hey, girl, hey yourself. And then before they even dated, again, she was just on him. Because before they even dated, he was still talking to Tasha. He goes on the rooftop at that work event and he's on the phone with Tasha. She goes up there to talk to him. He's on a phone call. Take your ass on somewhere. I don't like Aparna. She was just so extra and needy and aggressive. And listen, I don't mind a woman going after what she wants, but let him at least meet you halfway. Now, me personally, the way I've always gone about it and the way it's always worked out for me is I'll give 10. Might give 15%. You're gonna have to come the rest of the way. I just feel like you see the best of a person, particularly if you date men. You see the best in a man when he is showing up as the best version of himself and trying to woo you, when he is trying to not even convince, but when he is trying to show you what he's all about. You see the best of them. That's when you get the best of them. And then eventually, if they're a great guy, then you build from there and they get even better. But in the beginning, it's imperative that you see what is their version of the best. And that is what you need to observe when you're considering whether or not to move forward with a person. If you're doing it all for them, you're letting them know you don't need much. And you do. You need a hell of a lot. You should need a hell of a lot to sustain a relationship with you. They should have to show up with effort, consideration, care, love, commitment, honesty, integrity, loyalty. They should have to show up with a lot. So you make them show that up front. Instead, you mowing them down on a rooftop and running out after a dinner party. Hey, then you're over there talking about the date after the fact, after y'all go to the movies, inviting yourself to things you're not invited to. Aparna, please. Anyway, I did not. Aparna was my least favorite partner for Lawrence. And Condola, I just think she got the short end of the stick. I really liked her a lot. I thought she was so pretty and she had such a great energy about her. And I actually thought she and Lawrence made a good couple, but it was clear that same like positive energy that he had with Issa, that humor and that fun and that excitement that they seemed to have together, that wasn't present with Condola. With Condola, it always seemed very rigid and very regimented and very much like you fit the image of what I'm looking for on both sides. They both just seem like, yeah, you'll work. It didn't seem like it was particularly inspired. It seemed like it was like, he's a great guy, she's a great girl, so why the hell not? It didn't seem like she liked Lawrence. It seemed like he was a rebound, because when Lawrence is in the kitchen on Thanksgiving, Condola's friend comes up to him and is like, you're really good for her. After what she's been through with her ex-husband and some of the other guys she's dated, I'm glad that she's with a guy like you. That is the kiss of death. While on the surface, that is a compliment and that is a very positive thing to say to someone, it almost sounds like settling. Like, okay, great. I'm glad she found someone who she can settle with or settle for. It didn't sound particularly inspired. It sounded like finally she got someone semi-normal. It's like being the best of the worst. It didn't sound like, on the surface it sounded great, but then when you really let that compliment sit with you, it's like, first of all, who has Condola been bringing around for you to say that? And then two, I don't want to just be a change of pace for someone. I want to be someone's, wow, what a great match, or what a great person, or what a great partner. One thing I vehemently hated was that when she broke up with Lawrence, she stopped responding to Issa. Now, my thinking is she broke up with Lawrence because she could tell he was still into Issa, or maybe he mentioned it. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's not Issa's fault. And if you are connecting with Issa on an actual project that has nothing to do with Lawrence, why are you making this Issa's problem? I thought that was so immature and so childish and very uncharacteristic of her. I was surprised that that the way they were getting along and having fun, but also she just operated like a mature adult. I was surprised that her option was to ghost Issa over Lawrence. That would have pissed me off. And I was really glad that Issa barely gave her any time of day after that, because at the end of the day, keep your relationship shit out of my business. When they decided to leave Lawrence out of their connection, that should have just been that. All in all, while I do wish that Lawrence and Issa were able to come back together without any remnants of past relationships or any kind of compromises, at least as big as that, I am glad that the way they went about it was light years ahead of the way we've seen portrayed on TV before. They both handled it in a very mature way, and Issa was able to come to terms with this decision and make a decision that made sense for her at a time when it made sense for her. She didn't rush her decision. She didn't rush to just hold on to Lawrence by any means necessary. She gave herself the space and time to really give it thought and explore what else was out there for her and decide if that's the life she wanted for herself. And that's why they had the results they had versus the Davises, who are probably still miserable to this damn day. Now, up until the making of this video, I was actually of the mind that I didn't think they should get back together. But after rewatching the show from start to finish and just paying attention to how they interacted, the way they spoke to each other, the kind of energy they brought out of one another, after he came out of his depression and seeing how they interacted and how they operated together and how they both learned to openly communicate, once we were able to see that and get that depth from them, also their humor, the way they both are their best when they're together, after seeing all that, yeah, they make sense as endgame for me. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, because even prior to this, I was like, I just hate that she had to have a baby come back with him. Like, how unfair. I would have loved for her to be able to just have her man back and have her happy ending. But sometimes our happy endings don't look the way we imagine them to. Sometimes our life is enriched in other ways that we didn't imagine. And while, yes, having a stepchild is probably a huge inconvenience, it's an adjustment. There's a lot there, and there are probably so many challenges, and it's a lifelong thing. That doesn't end at 18, because you don't revoke parenthood at 18. Your relationship changes, but you're still a parent. So that's forever. Although that can be a lifelong adjustment, it can be enriching, it can be fun, it can be amazing. And your life is just enriched because you get to be part of this child's village. And that child will probably be very grateful if you're the type of person who's going to be an enriching step parent. That child will be only grateful that you were there. And you get to have a very unique and loving relationship with that kid. While that's not your child, that's still a person who's now in your family. And you can foster a wonderful relationship with that child and the child's mother. Like I said, my stepmom was amazing. And every day I'm so grateful that my dad met her and had married her. And even when they didn't work out, I still speak of her in such high regard. I remember when my dad was married to her and I would be excited to go to his house on the weekend for a whole new set of reasons. I was always so excited. I always enjoyed spending time with my dad, but when he married my first stepmom, I was like, oh, great. Now we get to have fun, because although I love my dad to death, he saw me as his first son until he actually had a son. We were doing outdoor activities all the time. But when he married my first stepmom, there was a woman in the house. And so I was like, okay, great. Now I can have fun and do fun stuff with her. And I'll be glad to see him too. But I'm excited to see her. And she made sure I had fun every time I went over there. So it can be an enriching experience. It can be amazing. And it's an opportunity to be in a child's village. And that is very, very rewarding. As an aunt, I can tell you, you don't have to be the parent to truly enrich a child's life. So with all that said, while it's an adjustment, I can see why that will be a fulfilling life for Issa. And it still doesn't stop the fact that they can go on and have more children and enrich their lives in other ways as well with this child in tow. So I can see why they ended up together. It didn't work out with Daniel for a lot of reasons. And although I was team Daniel up until making this video, after watching the show from start to finish and putting my Jezebel spirit aside, I looked at it through the eyes of Issa, and that wasn't going to work anyway. They were way too cold when they weren't hot, because you can only go so low. You can only go so low. You can argue all day, and sometimes we do overstep. Lord knows, in my 20s, I was an overstepping fool. I would tap dance on people's nerves just because I could if I was mad. And I would say some heinous things when people got on my nerves. I was way too emotionally immature for the type of relationship I was carrying on with my boyfriend at the time. Thankfully, he was patient and understanding. And as I matured and he became my husband, I'm no longer that spitfire. I can go with the best of them, but I'm way more respectful. And because I have grown in my emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, I handle conflict very differently. But my husband had to be patient with me too. So I'm not saying that it can't be worked out, but what I am saying is there's a limit. And the way Daniel and Issa would hit each other below the belt, yeah, I would have left. That wouldn't work long term. Who knows what kinds of things are going to roll out of their mouth if they had tried to really date and actually have a household together and build a life together. That comes with a lot of challenges. And every time your back is against the wall, you can't come out swinging, not at your partner. And being in a relationship and building a life together, you will have many moments where you just feel a lot of pressure. You have to learn how to diffuse and de-escalate without being heinous. And when he told her he's always saving her from some shit, and he spoke to her in that dismissive tone, and when she told him he was an itch she needed to scratch, I'm like, why do y'all even have a friendship? You could only tell me something like that one time. And just like he said, he has no connection to We Got Y'all. There would have never been a calling me to get back together or be cool or be friends or anything after that. No, because no. Anyway, so after watching it back, I absolutely think Lawrence made sense for her as endgame, but I'm happy that she took the time she needed to truly enjoy her 30s and explore life without feeling pressured to just stay in it because it was Lawrence. She actually did what was best for Issa and came to terms with it. So that's why it's different. As far as Nate, I never liked Nate. The actor is great, but I never liked that character for Issa. I didn't like him from the moment he showed up. Not that I didn't actively dislike him, but he never really won me over as a partner for Issa. I didn't really fall into the romance. I thought he was a cool character, but as far as being Issa's boyfriend, I always just felt like it was a mismatch. And so I never really got attached to that character. Then when he ghosted her, even though he had an understandable reason, when he ghosted her, it was never any coming back from that for me. Only to find out in the last episode of the show that he did it again. I understand her wanting to be patient, but something I appreciate how she handled Nate versus how she handled Lawrence. With Lawrence, she stuck around the whole time without advocating for herself, without communicating, and without trying to find actual solutions or resolutions to the issue. And she stayed there way too long, or she tolerated it for way too long. With Nate, although we saw her have a reaction to being ghosted, she was able to dust herself off and carry on way faster. And when he came back around, she absolutely communicated to him how she felt. And even throughout their relationship, she was able to communicate with him about how she was feeling. When she told him that she loved him and he didn't say it back, she spoke up for herself. That is not the same type of person we would have seen in season 1. So she advocated for herself well, but when that relationship needed to end and he pulled the plug, she accepted it. There was no trying to get him back. There was no manic and anxious apologizing and trying to remedy the situation. There was no calling him. That obsession was gone. There was no limerence, none of that. She let it go. She said, okay. Same with Lawrence. When it was time to let that go, she let that go. So it was great to see her come to terms with what she did want and what she didn't want and only stick to that. And when she made the decision to get back with Lawrence, it was from a whole and fulfilled place, which is why she seems to be very happy with her decision versus Melanie, who was very miserable. So as far as Lawrence, while he was being very sneaky with Tasha, he never crossed the line. I do think he tiptoed up to the line with Tasha. I'm a big proponent of full transparency. So any kind of deception is a no for me, dog. So the sitting at lunch together and the intentionally trying to be in her line and the little pseudo flirting shit they were doing. And even though he rejected her request for a date, you did everything but when you were leading her on. So the energy was there. And even though he brought up Issa once, you should have been bringing up your girlfriend the whole time. Now, the lunch thing, she came and sat at his lunch table. So I won't really fault him for that too much, but you were going to her line at the bank. And when she came to Best Buy, there was still that flirty energy. So although he didn't act on it, I do think he led her on. I feel like he could have handled that a lot better. But unlike Issa, who cheated, he chose not to. And I think that's what makes all the difference in the world. And when it came time to advocate for his partner, he did. So I was glad to see that he able to go through all the growth stages that he needed to go through. Lawrence was immature as hell. He was so immature. It was never more apparent than when he became a dad. He was very immature. He was very self-centered and very selfish. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the traits that we saw in season 1 came back, although he wasn't a bum, so they were less noticeable. They were still very much there. The selfishness, the self-centered attitude, the woe is me attitude, the inconsideration for others, failure to collaborate and be flexible and consider other people. The fact that he found out he was having a baby in LA and still moved to San Francisco is wild to me. So a lot of those traits were still there. The time he got back with Issa, he had come a long way. So one might say they came back together at the right time. So that's all I have for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on Lawrence? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.